Welcome back. This is the follow-up video to my first tournament experience heading to Arc40K, or the Arc Tournament. It's one of the biggest 40K tournaments in the Southern Hemisphere. I think it's also one of the longest running. And this video is going to take you through my experience, how my team went. If you are interested in the previous video where I break down, I guess, what I'm looking forward to and what my list was and what I actually took, head to the link somewhere. It'll be on screen, but there's a link to the first video. Definitely recommend watching that because that'll give you a bit of reference of exactly what the army was I took and why I took them. Enough preamble, let's get down to me on the battlefield for the first initial thoughts of Arc40K. All right, so here we are at Arc40K. Things were just starting to kick off. We've walked in. We've got our table, which you can see is located just behind me. First game, met my opponent, seems like a lovely dude. There's coffee, we're still waiting. We've been denied coffee. Opening ceremonies coming up and the army's on parade. So let's check those out. So the primary mission for round one was take and hold. We had the Dawn of War deployment, and luckily, to keep it simple, we had the Chilling Rain mission rule. So nothing additional being added, which I liked very much.
Less than 20 minutes to go, pal, in the first game. How you feeling?
I'm flushed. I feel like I'm sweating. It's not going well.
So round one just done, up against my nemesis, the Custodes. I always hate playing Custodes, but luckily it was a really entertaining opponent. Brad was heaps of fun, really welcoming, and made the game really easy. Unfortunately, didn't quite get the win. I think it was 76 to 56, so I lost by a bit. I just, in the end, couldn't get the Custodes out of my lines. I did such a good job of getting amongst my stuff, and I had a whiffer of a second turn. Couldn't kill an Arminger on their home objective, which really would have got me off to a great start. Hey, but that's dice games. There were some hilarious dice rolls both way, and now we're going to have some lunch and head into game two. All right, so game one down, we've had some lunch. We're heading into game number two. Wouldn't you know it, I've drawn Custodes again. I came here to play new teams, experience new things, and I got Custodes again. My most hated team, if you know me, they're the bane of my existence. So I'm going in with trepidation into this battle because, well, they always get me. So fingers crossed. For round number two, the main mission was priority targets and the deployment was search and destroy. This one had an interesting idea for its special rule, which was all about that once per game you could pick an enemy unit, which you decided at the start of the game to be a traitor. So you could actually use it to flip those guys when you were revealing objective control to either deny your opponent points or score yourself some. So that was a pretty cool little rule. Luckily, it didn't affect the score too much, as I didn't put too much thought into it. I obviously went with the Wardens being the traitor unit, so I was able to, in one of the turns, flip them to be scoring for me. So that was a good little way to get some points. Oh, all right, game two down, Custodes again, and unfortunately, I didn't get it done. Another great opponent, we had a lot of fun, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to. They're just so hard to kill. The trouble I've had with both games is heavy armor and getting stuck trying to kill that, and invols and stuff tying me up for an extra turn. And before you know it, the Custodes are in your line tearing you up. I tried to play it a little bit smarter. I did focus on the Custodes. I killed a lot of bodies. They literally had a shield captain, I think was the only actual Custodes model left at the end of the game. But it didn't matter. The sisters had scored their points. The tank took 3, I think nearly 4 turns to die. It survived on 1 wound, and in doing that then killed one of my other Redemptors. So yeah, tough game, but again, another really fun one. Heading into game 3, gonna go get some caffeine, recharge. Let's see how we go.
So game 3, up against Drakari. It's not Custodes. That's all you need to know. Let's get it.
For round 3 against the Dastardly Drakari, the primary mission here was Scorched Earth, so one where you could actually choose to destroy objective markers if you put a unit on there who wasn't battle shocked and use an action to do this. It was the Crucible of Battle deployment, and both teams had to choose a monster or a vehicle to be their god beast. And this scored you an additional 5 points if you could destroy your opponent's god beast. It also gave those God Beast units double the OC, so it did encourage you to get them on objectives. For me, I chose my Ballistus Dread as my God Beast, while my opponent, very fittingly, chose the Tantalus, the biggest God Beast around. So day 1 ended, luckily, with the big first victory for me. I finally got a win against a very fun opponent with a very well-themed Drakari team. They were based around rum. There was Captain Morgan was one of their heroes. They had Sailor Jerry. The Tantalus was called a Kraken. So it was all rum themed. And, you know, I did feel like having a drink and celebrating after finally seeing a win and also not seeing Custodes across the table from me. After that, it was go straight home and go straight to bed because I was absolutely cooked. The pace is frenetic. The games, to get them fitted into that time, you're either flying along or you're having to pull up quickly and end the game a bit earlier than you would like. So that was probably the biggest mental adjustment, was just how fast and quick you had to play the game. The 1350 points definitely makes sense after seeing how quick the games are. I don't think you'd be able to get through 2,000 points in that pace, but hey, stranger things have happened. All right, so here we are, day 2 at Arc. It was a very, very early night last night. Went straight to bed when I got home. Well, actually, I had half a drink. That finished me off. Straight to bed, mentally destroyed. But today, very excited to get back into it. Feet are already a little bit sore, but found out my first opponent today is going to be Tyranids, which I'm really excited about after the disappointment of yesterday with the teams I versed being ones I'm very familiar with. Versing Tyranids, a team I've never played before, I'm actually super excited to get into. So let's see how I go. Round 4, the primary mission was Supply Drop. Then we had the Hammer and Anvil Classic deployment. Now this one was based around a special rule called Automatic Reaction Order. So in the mission, you could actually reduce the CP cost of each of the follower stratagems by 1. So Heroic Intervention, Fire Overwatch, Smoke Screen, Go to Ground, and Counter Offensive. So definitely added a little bit of spice to it with a lot more Overwatch going off, me actually remembering to use Smoke Screen, and even seeing a lot more Go to Ground for some infantry, which was cool. All right, that was probably the most cinematic game I've had so far. There was movie magic moments everywhere. It was a coconut crab themed Tyranid list, which was really, really cool. Had a lot of personality about it. Really tough, lots of big bugs, which went really, really interesting into my Iron Storm. So it was lots of big robots versus big bugs. And it was a scary, scary matchup. I didn't quite come away with the win. Would have been interesting to see if it had have gone 5 turns, but that's what these time limits do to you guys. You know, you've got to make sure that you get your whole game in. Otherwise, you're going to cop it and you're not going to get your max points. So we did our best, but we didn't get the whole game in. But it was still really exciting. Moment of the match was the Tech Marine, my Warlord, charging bravely into the Tyranid Warlord in a cinematic masterpiece, managing to survive, holding off the Tyranids from our home objective and saving a lot of points, which is really, really cool. Other moment of the match was when my Lancer took out a charging Lictor with one of its big shots from its main gun, absolutely annihilated it on Overwatch, hitting on a 6. Crazy, but a really, really amazing game. Looking forward to my next one. So I've just managed to find a little bit of time after lunch to sneak upstairs to check out some of the other stuff. Upstairs, from where we're playing the games, there's the Arc Open Painting Competition. So there is a whole raft of amazing paint work that's putting mine to shame, putting most people's to shame realistically. So I'm going to take some time to dawdle around here, have a look. There's been a 24-hour speed painting competition. There's also lots of gear you can get. So you've got Army Painter, you can see behind us airbrushes, you've got Star Wars Shatterpoint. There's a whole bunch of different bits and pieces and things to check out. Maybe some things I might have to fill up the backpack with before I leave. But yeah, I want to go check out the paint jobs. Round 5 was Sites of Power, was the main primary mission. Then we had the sweeping engagement deployment, and a very cool thematic rule here for Marvel Crisis Protocol, blending in with that with the Shards of Infinity. In your command phase, you would roll the dice, select a unit on an objective, and depending on the result of the D6, they would gain a special ability based off the Infinity Stones from the Marvel Universe. Second game was really, really fun. Ran into Tau for the first time, so I had the Sky Ray things with like 900 of the missiles on the racks. There was broadside battle suits. It was the first time I played them. Terrifying, but luckily I managed to squeak out a win in that one. In a really, really great battle though. It seesawed, and there was a lot of things that could have pushed it the other way, but luckily I was able to. The Dreads held on, and I was actually able to tank the first round of shooting a lot better than I was expecting. The Redemptor Dreads really held up, and the sneaky stratagems that let me shoot back when you drop under half wounds actually came up trump, so it did very, very well. Round 6 had us finishing off with priority targets as the primary, Dawn of War for the deployment, and we had the special mission rule, Seize the Momentum. This meant that you always had the secondary mission a tempting target, even if you were fixed or tactical. So you were having to choose if you had fixed objectives to drop one of them and only keep one, or if you were tactical, you were always doing tempting target. And this really made it an interesting way to score points because you had to keep that in your mind at all times, and these objectives changed hands a lot in this game. Into the last game, I was super excited. Got to play Khorne Demons. I've never played a Demons army before. There was a Bloodthirster, there was Bellicor. Probably my favorite game, just purely because it went down to 5 or 6 points. And it was tense as one of my Redemptor Dreads just like survived for 3 turns in close combat and just refused to die. Couldn't kill anyone, but refused to die, and I'll take that any day because he held it up so we could score points. There were some epic moments with the Hellblasters falling out of their transports, shooting at Bellicor, and there was an amazing photo I had to take, which was this lone sergeant staring down Bellicor with his plasma gun moments before his untimely demise. So that was just a game full of amazing moments. And one of those games I didn't really want to check the score. I didn't want to add up and go, oh, heading into the last turn, how do I max it, or what do I need to stop your scoring? I was like, I'm just going to play what I feel's right, let it play out, because it was just such a great game, and I luckily got away with the win. So 3-3 for the tournament, so smashed my goal of just winning one game. Very surprised that happened, but couldn't have asked for 6 better opponents throughout the whole thing. Genuinely couldn't complain at all. Everyone was lovely. Everyone was unique in their own ways they played. The armies were fantastic. But the whole, I guess, it's the epitome of how Arc has been. Everyone has been so welcoming. The community gets around each other. Everyone's packing down together. Probably I should get back to helping pack down now. I'm recording a video, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to go help finish packing down. And then we've got an award ceremony coming up. So fingers crossed, should be in the running for Wooden Spoon, Worst on Ground. Any of those awards I'll be happy to take home. All right, so just quick recap. Lucky enough to head to these events. They're nothing if you don't get to head to them with it, mate. So I've got Commander Jim. You may have heard his voice in the background of a Kill Team Battle Report before, but also an avid Grey Knights player and Filthy T-Suns player. Not a fan of either of them.
Yeah.
How did you go over the last 2 days?
So I'm exhausted right now. Like, I'm shattered emotionally, physically. But no, look, in all seriousness, it was great. It's a great time. Like, everyone I played with was amazing, and like great armies, and it's just, I don't know, there's a great atmosphere here. So I've thoroughly enjoyed my time here, and yeah, got a few wins on the board too. It's always nice. So,
well, I was going to say no one cares about winning. It's not about that today. But how did you go?
So I won all my games today, which is great.
Wow.
I won one yesterday and lost the first 2. So a bit up and down, but yeah.
4-2, not bad. Was it Filthy Dread Knights, Grey Knights list?
A little bit, yeah. So I feel a bit guilty because, you know, you come in here and there's these amazing themed armies. They're beautifully painted, and I'm here with 3 Dread Knights, Terminators, and just like messing stuff up with my Dread Knights. So it felt a little bit cheesy, but they did kind of work. I got to say, all of my games, I pretty much swept my opponent off the table.
Wow.
And took very few losses. So Grey Knights are pretty good.
So they did just cop the points changes. You did just avoid the points changes by about a week. I think the list snuck in under.
So I don't think there'll be 3 Dread Knights next time round. It's only 10 points each though, so I'm already like thinking how I can make it work, but I don't think I can.
And obviously, all your opponents by sound of it were great. Did you have a favourite army or themed army that you played though?
So definitely last game I played against Christian. He has the Cowboy Admech army. So good, man. Like so good. And I don't know if anyone's seen it, like the geared like bike things that he's custom built.
Oh,
really cool. And do you know what? They've got anti-walker 2+. So he charged in and just messed up my Dread Knights as well. So not only did they look cool, he came in and smashed me, and like his army just looked incredible. So it was fun, and he's a lovely dude, a lot of fun to play.
That's such a weirdly specific rule, anti-walker 2+.
It really is. And against my Dread Knights that have been in there messing things up all tournament, and he just happens to have the counter to it, and I just happened to run at it and let him charge me. So that's how it goes. But it was really good. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, there you go. Another satisfied customer of Arc. It was a pleasure getting to share the experience first time
really was.
for both of us.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It was a ripper.
Yeah.
Back to me, and I'm going to say something else in another shot. So once everyone had joined in, helped to pack up and get everything away, we were able to sit down, and after a little delay due to some mathematical errors apparently, we were able to head into the awards. And I tell you what, the energy, considering how long the 2 days had been, was still so up and about for the awards. It was so great to see how much Arc really, really lived up to what they said. The focus on sportsmanship, on lots of people receiving awards for a whole raft of reasons to show everyone's contribution and how they get involved and how all those ways are important. There's definitely the top generals. They get their awards for just being great at the game, but best sportsmanship, best first year player, and of course the crowning glory, or the main one, is it takes everything into account. It takes your painting into account, takes your sportsmanship, how much fun was your list to play against, as well as your score. So just because your army is unbeatable doesn't mean you win this kind of tournament, and I really, really like that. It encourages people to put the time and effort into the hobby side, or if gaming isn't your strength, you can still be super competitive overall because you can come up with a great team, you can paint an army really well, and I just think that's so supportive of a healthy gaming environment, is that winning isn't the be-all, end-all, or there's multiple ways.
Which of course means that you're Arc40K 2024 champion!
So how did I finish up? Some of you may be wondering. Well, after all the games are counted, I finished 3-3. So smashed my goal of winning just one game and managed to finish, I think, 84th out of 188 players. So to say that I am stoked or, blown out of my socks by that is definitely an understatement. I was gunning for wooden spoon. Quietly, I thought I was in with a good chance. But luckily, I think a combination of some fun games, great opponents, and, a list that wasn't too disgustingly cheesy. It was just built to win and have some fun games is what got me to that point. The biggest thing, though, is I'm just so chuffed and excited. I'm already thinking about next year. I just walked away so inspired by the work everyone put in. If you've seen from some of the early footage, the dioramas, the display boards, the paint work that people put in, it's unbelievable, and it just gets you so fired up creatively to do more. My only thing I had this year was just to get there and to turn up. I wanted to keep the pressure off myself, but going into next year, and I will be back if they'll have me, if the ban's lifted, obviously. I'm going to spend the next 12 months planning a list, getting a really good theme, painting them as well as I can, building an awesome display board, because it just adds so much to the weekend, and it really makes it something, you can enjoy so many elements of it and just be able to have conversations about how good your list looks or someone else's models are painted. There's so many ways to engage with everyone. Speaking of which, everyone was amazing. I've mentioned several times, I'll stop saying it now, opponents were great, but all my opponents were very different personalities, but we still managed to have great games. We still played those games in the best spirits. And that made it really, really unique and as engaging as the armies they were bringing as well. Like them, everyone was different. Even the two custodes had different themes and flavors to them as well. So that meant it wasn't like you were getting bored. And with 188 people, or 187, taking myself out, to play, you know, the types of lists you could come up against was so cool. There was such a varied mix of teams. The volunteers were amazing. Got to take a second to say thank you. Those kind of events don't happen without volunteers. And it's such I mean, I always think, oh, I'd love to volunteer, but then I want to play as well. But those people made the day run smoothly, and that was everything from the food to the painting judges to everyone just getting involved with all aspects, even the way that everyone packed down together at the end. It just shows such a great commitment to making it a great day on everyone's part. So that was so cool to see. The organizers are clearly crazy passionate about it. They do it because they love it, do it for no other reason because they love the game and they love seeing people enjoy the event. And that is just so apparent in how they go about it. You know, one of the organizers came up and just said g'day. He knew I was a rookie, said g'day to me at the table. And that stuff's just so nice. It made me feel welcome straight away. So how did the list perform? Who were the MVPs? Who were the units that blew me away? I'm so glad I went with the Assault Intercessors. They were amazing all day. They scored points for days. They were so versatile. They got mortal wounds off on the charges when I needed them. They used the grenade stratagem really well. In one battle, 5 of them held the middle of the battlefield and just were, although they were being whittled away by custodes, hitting on 2 damage bolt rifles, they refused to go down. And that was hugely inspiring. It made me feel really, really good taking them over some of the other choices. I think my Redemptor Dreads didn't have the offensive output that I thought they would. I thought they were going to be the MVPs in terms of crushing and killing things, but they had a lot of trouble. They didn't do great in close combat like I thought they would have. And the plasma gun being D6+1 shots, it was up and down. The 2 most consistent parts was the devastating wounds on the little mini onslaught Gatling. Fantastic. It was amazing how many times they just chipped off 2 or 3 mortal wounds on that. And the other thing that was really, really great was they were just super survivable. I managed to win 2 or 3 games, I think, based off purely their ability to -1 damage. You know, using things like the Armor of Contempt to take a little bit of AP, as well as there's strats that let them fight at full effectiveness, even if they're wounded. So things like that, although they weren't getting the kills I wanted, they were holding up my opponent, and that was just as important in a lot of times. The other most consistent guys in the team were definitely the Lancer tank. It had some huge moments, as I mentioned earlier. It one-shotted a Lictor that charged it at our deep strike in Overwatch, so needed to hit on 6 and just rinsed it. It was one of the most thematic things of the weekend. But every time it got a target, apart from the Custodes who have lots of invols, everyone else, it was really able to do its work with the big gun. The Ballistus was super reliable all weekend. 2 las cannons, 2 crack missiles going into the big targets was fantastic. But it was also then able to do the frag missile variant into the Horde troops that I played as well. And that really did some work as well. Helped to clear some chaff off some objectives. I think the only units that probably didn't get to do as much as I thought they would, or probably were a little underwhelming, was the Hellblasters in the Impulsor. They kind of got caught out of position a little bit or weren't able to hit the targets that they sort of maximized. And when they did, I didn't roll great with them. So I'm going to blame me. I'm going to say maybe I didn't use them to their best of their ability, but they probably didn't succeed as much as I thought. Angry Tech Marine, on the other hand, had some amazing moments. Him fighting the Hive Tyrant in one of the battles was so cinematic, and actually holding up the Hive Tyrant to keep it off my objective, saving me a whole bucket load of points, was truly, truly inspiring. Charged into combat several times against other characters and monsters when I needed key wounds, and actually really did some work. So Tech Marine, especially when a vehicle's died near it, absolutely amazing. So that's it. That's the wrap up for Arc40K for 2024. A great time, really, really great experience. So if you're umming and ahhing about doing it, or even if you're worried about heading to your first tournament, like I was definitely very nervous. It's a great place to start. We will now, or at least myself and a few friends, we're looking to build up for next year we're going to do a little bit of a tale of four warlords, or however many of my friends I get on board, to start now. We are going to be building our armies and planning and plotting, painting, all those things from now until next year, playing games. And I'm going to do a bit of coverage on my channel, on this channel, about that. So if you enjoy army building, list building, seeing what ideas people are coming up with, feel free to check out those videos. I hope you find them entertaining. In the meantime, there'll be more Kill Team content as always, hopefully some more Warhammer 40k content, and hopefully a bit more tournament stuff, because I had a blast making this and playing the games. Until next time, thanks for tuning in.